Hey guys, it's Troy here, and yes, let's talk another vintage pen. I warned you I had some more Sheaffers. What? Another Sheaffer? Another vintage? Oh yes, I saw this one for sale. Indy-pen-dance.com. The folks over at indy-pen-dance. Mike and Linda, I've run across them at a lot of pen shows. I've purchased supplies from them in the past. As a matter of fact, Linda was actually one of my instructors in a nib smoothing class I took at my first DC pen show. So I saw this come up because I subscribed to them on social media, and they posted their monthly pen tray. Essentially, they took a lot of pens, they went ahead and went over them, they restored them, and they have a monthly tray they put out on their website. And here's their website right here. And I'll also put a link down in the description of the video so you can go to them later. But I saw this particular one, matter of fact, before the DC Pen Show came up. This arrived while I was at the DC show, and I had a smaller budget than I had originally planned for DC. So if I didn't really get anything there, I wouldn't feel too bad, because by the time I came home from the show, this pen was sitting there waiting for me in my mailbox. Sheaffer, okay, vintage. You got me at vintage. You got my curiosity. Sheaffer, okay, you got my curiosity there. One of my favorite pen brands, especially vintage. Okay, let's throw in Balance. Okay, Balance is not my favorite model that Sheaffer did, but I like them. Matter of fact, I've got 4 or 5 of them, and I'm a little irritated that one that I recently had and restored, a Sheaffer Balance, I can't even find right now. Because I tried to grab it out for this video, knowing that I had just recently used it and restored it myself. Well, anyway, and then you throw in the word or the words oversized. Now you really got my curiosity. You've really got me. Throw on top of that factory stub nib from Sheaffer, and you definitely have got me. So this is a pen that I purchased from indy-pen-dance, and an oversized Sheaffer Balance. Now, when I looked at their monthly tray, you know, this is the picture of it right here, and this is why it got my curiosity up. And then the description of it is right here. It's Condition B, which, in their case, Condition B, excellent. All parts original and showing only very slight signs of use. Very slight surface scratching, very minor discoloration or brassing, crisp imprints, no significant dings. And that is what their description was right here. So let's take a look. No brassing, chips, cracks, or significant scratches. Sheaffer's Balance is one of the true classics of the vintage pen world. This one was made in the late 1930s. The 20s and 30s to me, folks, are the heyday of vintage pens for both Waterman and Sheaffers to me. So, don't miss the nib on this pen. Finding factory stub nibs on Sheaffers is difficult, and finding one on an oversized Balance is a true challenge. A 14-karat lifetime two-tone nib offers a juicy 0.65 millimeter downstroke, 0.25 millimeter cross stroke, lever filler, and then it goes on to like the description of the pen length, which is like 5 5/8 inches capped and 6 3/8 inches when you post it. And that's what this is right here in my hands. I was looking forward to it. Now I've got it, and I'd be happy with it. All right, now, factory stub nib. Lately, for me, I have been writing with a lot more 1.1 stub nibs. I've just, when I first started in fountain pens, I had no use for a stub nib. I didn't really care, especially like a 1.1 seemed a little bit much to me, and I'd given away some of my 1.1 stubs. But over the years, I've used them more and more, and lately I've been buying them more and more. As a matter of fact, I've been ordering from custom makers some 1.1 stubs. So I figured I'd try this because I didn't own a Sheaffer's with a factory stub nib, because I know that they're hard to come by. All right, black, all black, gold trim. I have said it time and again. Black with gold trim, simple yet elegant. I like the looks of the plain, simple, in this case, a big cigar looking thing with black and gold trim. It just tells me it's elegant. It tells me it's simple yet still extremely stylish. Of course, you've got your white dot up there with the Sheaffer's logo. And there's not much on this pen outside of this right here. The W.A. Sheaffer Pen Company, Fort Madison, Iowa, USA, made in USA. That's about all it says. So you've got a nice twist, and you've got that two-tone nib with that factory stub nib on it that I told you about. I'll get you a better shot of that. Now, one of the cool things about this pen is it's got an ink window. You may be able to see it here, but right here you can see through, and put it down like that, and you can see the ink actually covers up that ink window, so you can actually tell. I can see it here with the ink sloshing around inside of here. So it comes down from inside that sack and through that section, and you can actually see the ink come down into that section right there. So that's kind of neat. So even in the 1930s, they had a really cool ink window. I do like the Sheaffer balance. It's not my favorite, but I do like the Sheaffer balance. All right, I'm a flat top guy. Matter of fact, why don't I show you a comparison with a few other vintage Sheaffers here for you. Personally, I'm a Sheaffer flat top guy. I've got a bunch of Sheaffer flat tops in my collection. I rather like them. So here's a nice flat top from like the 1920s or so, early 30s. I just dig the flat tops. Now, some other Sheaffer balances that I've got. This is a Sheaffer balance with a number 5 feather touch nib. It's kind of rough shape. This one here with a celluloid to it. And I've got a number 5 around here with a number 5 feather touch nib in this one here. And I've got a nice carmine red one that I've had just recently. And that's the one I can't find. It irritates the snot out of me. I went through all my pens that I need to clean here, and I can't find that one because it's very similar to this in a carmine red. But it's got the feather touch number 5 nib in it, just like is in this one right here. So anyway, those are some other Sheaffers. I've got like 4 or 5, maybe, yeah, at least 5 different versions of the balance here that are in my collection. But that's what some of the other vintage Sheaffers look like, just for comparison's sake. Now, like I said, they had me at oversized when you see the description of OS. Oversized. That got my curiosity. So you open it up, and yes, you can post it, but not very well, but you got to press an awful lot to get it in. And that's a big honking pen. I mean, that is one huge, gigantic torpedo looking thing if you're going to post it. I don't like having to post it if I don't want to, on an oversized especially, so I take that off. And this fits great in my hand. This is a very comfortable pen to hold and to use. And I've been using it quite a bit here lately. I've been using it in some of my pen pals. You will have seen this particular pen. Actually, I know one of my pen pals wanted to see it. And I've been able to share it just a little bit. And even on some Zoom calls with some friends of mine, and a few FaceTime calls, about this particular pen. So let's go ahead and give you a writing sample of this. And it's a little different writing with it. A factory stub nib from the 1930s. I wanted to try it, and it was very different. One of the things about this is it was a little sharp. The edges of this particular stub nib to me were just a little sharp, so just a little tiny bit of smoothing with just a little bit of micro mesh actually made this a lot more pleasant to write with, and certainly didn't make it any more difficult or hard to write, but it just made it slightly more pleasant, and that's what I was looking for, just to take off just a hair bit of the rough edge. A Sheaffer's. This is an oversized balance. This is from the late 30s, according to the folks at Indy-pen-dance. And this has a factory stub, STUB nib. Now, they said, is it wet and juicy? Yeah, actually it is a nice, good, wet writer. Because it's a vintage and because I tend to keep it in stock, Waterman's Black. Now, like I said, I did do a little bit of smoothing on this thing, and that writes much, much better than in terms of smoothness. Because before, let me rotate it just a little bit. Before I was getting a little bit of, a little catch like that on the edge of that stub nib, and I'm doing this on purpose right here. All right. So, but before, even just writing normally, I was going ahead and catching it just a hair. So I took off just a tiny bit of that edge. And now it actually writes better and more smoothly. And actually, thank you, Linda from Indy-pen-dance for being one of my instructors to refine my technique on nib smoothing some. All right. So, as the description did talk about, you got the downstroke. It's wider compared to the side stroke. And you can see that it's narrower right there. So, very comfortable pen to write with. That's what I will say for sure. I like oversized pens. I use them quite a bit. Whether it's a modern pen, which oversized modern tends to actually be a little bigger than the vintage, but this is still a good size. You saw the difference between the standard Sheaffer balance size compared to the oversized. This is actually a very comfortable one to write with. It works well in my big old paw right here. So, like I said, that's what got my attention when I saw a Sheaffer balance oversize. And then to tack on the idea of a factory stub nib that I've never been able to have in my collection nor write with, hey, there you go. So anyway, this is a really nice addition to my collection, and I've been using it a lot. I will continue to use it a lot, and I may reach for this more often than not. Since it's in my collection and I just enjoy the size of it. So just another idea that if you're into vintage at all, hey, go for it. If you get the opportunity to get yourself a nice Sheaffer balance, especially if you can find one in oversized, it's well worth the investment, I think, to be able to have it and to use it, to enjoy it. And like I said, for me, the factory stub on top of that is what made me pull the trigger on this big baby.